Hey guys, the Blue Dasher, and today I'm going to be giving my thoughts on RWBY Volume 4. Last time I did a review I was quite messy, so hopefully this time this is going to be a bit more organized, and I hope you guys enjoy my review. Volume 4 actually picked up where Volume 3 left off. We get to see RWBY and the remnant of Team Jupiter traveling to Haven, and we also get to see what the other members of Team RWBY are up to. And we get to see Wise. That's the only person that matters, because you know, Wise is the best character in RWBY. I mean, what? I mean, yes, we got to see Blake. Yeah, we get to see Wise. Wise is so good. I mean, we get to see Yang handle her. I'm so bad. But yes, if I'm being serious, everyone got their own small storyline, but the main one is RWBY traveling to Haven, and I actually really like how they did that. We get the main storyline of RWBY traveling to Haven while also getting what's going on with the other members of Team RWBY, and I actually really enjoyed that. I'm not even trying to say that they did it perfectly, because they really didn't. There was this one episode, I don't remember what episode it was, but it was something around like they were shifting back between all four characters, and that really kind of like, I didn't say interaction, but that kind of annoyed me a little bit, since like that episode really lacked focus. It was shifting back between Blake, Vice, RWBY, Yang, and you didn't really know what to focus for. What was the main part of the episode? And I did not like how they did that, but for the most part, I thought it worked out pretty well. Common complaint I kind of seen for this volume was like nothing happened, which is actually kind of true. If you think about it, nothing really happened. It was about the journey. We didn't actually get anywhere really, but I feel like this volume was more to like take care of like all the crap that happened in Volume 3, because a lot of things got messed up. Yang lost her arm, all the team is separated now. I feel like this volume was necessary to like get everyone back and running again, you know, back and running again for to be a goal to like go beat up some Grim, get the White Fang. They're getting like everyone back to where they were in Volume 3, like, yeah, we can do this, and not like the depressed state that, for example, Yang at the end of Volume 3 was at. So I felt like this volume was actually necessary. Yes, it really didn't go anywhere, but it was still necessary. We did learn some new things, we got some character development, so I still think it's a pretty good volume even though nothing much happened. One of the more important things that happened in this volume was probably Ren's backstory, as before this we didn't really know a lot about Ren. He was just kind of there, you know, like saving Nora. Nora was just kind of there, but Nora had a fan base because she had a pretty bubbly, strong personality. But I know there are Ren fans. I'm not saying there's like, oh, there's no Ren fans in the world. I know there are Ren fans, but he's just kind of there in my opinion. I was never like a huge fan of him. I thought he was kind of boring. We don't really know much about him. This volume really gave a lot about Ren mostly, but some about Nora too, how they met. Some more of his personality, as we did get to see him piss like in this volume, and normally he's like a really calm and collected dude, and I thought that was a quite an interesting story we got. We got more character on Ren, which is always good, so Ren feels like an actual character now, which is always good, because a character should be a character. But yeah, I really like what they did with Ren, and I feel like that's probably one of the best things this volume did. Most of the main character had pretty good development. The only character I kinda was questioning the development of was probably Yang. I felt, it's not like I wanted her to like, I lost my arm, I can't fight, I can't do anything. I don't want her to be like that forever, but the way she got over it, it was way too fast in my opinion, because in like the beginning of the episode, she was like, she saw like glass breaking, and she like, oh, that's what happens to my arm. She was so like traumatized, but like, you know, like a one episode and like one speech from her dad changed all of that. And also, like, I also found it weird. You remember when Yang's dad, Tai, he joked about Yang's arm, and she didn't get offended at all by that. When in the beginning of the episode, she was like traumatized just from like hearing like if I recall correctly, it was like a cup breaking or something. I don't remember, but she was like traumatized from that, and she takes like this joke from Tai like not seriously at all, and that's really out of like character, and I found it really weird in my opinion. I just felt like the whole Yang thing took way too fast, and I just didn't really like how they did that. I'm sorry guys. But other than that, all the main characters got pretty good development, including RWBY, John, Nora, Ren, Wise, Blake. They all got pretty decent development. The only characters that didn't really do anything are probably the new villain they introduced in this volume, which are the following: Hazel, the two faunas that appeared to Blake, Watts, and Tyrion. Tyrion is an exception, however. Tyrion actually got probably the most shine in this whole volume as the villain. We get to know like some of his personality already. We get to know that he's quite crazy, so he's quite psychotic. He's really loyal to Salem, but we don't know. We barely know anything about Watts or Hazel. Hazel, we know that Ozpin knows him for some reason, and Ozpin considers him a dangerous person. And that is probably going to be a really interesting topic in the future. But Watts, we literally do not know anything about him. We know that Salem sent him to go meet with Lionheart, but that's pretty much it, and that Lionheart is working with Watts right now, but that's all we know about Watts. And the two faunas, we really don't know anything about them. We know they're in the White Fang, and they're working for Adam, or like, working with Adam. The thing is that they were all in the opening, right? But none of them were really important to the story at all. Which I'm not gonna say it was surprising, because I know they weren't gonna like try to like, oh, give all of these guys backstory, but I'm just saying these guys were pretty underdeveloped for like characters in the opening. But you know, they're gonna do something with them in future volumes, hopefully. So that's not really a big problem to me that much. Overall, I thought this was a decent volume. Yes, some parts were not focused. Yes, some parts were quite rushed. Yes, nothing really happened, but you guys gotta see it for what it is. It's a build-up volume for volume 5, and for that I think it did a pretty good job, and it's a pretty okay volume. If I had to rate it, I would probably give it a B- or C+. Anyways guys, I'm gonna be moving on to my thoughts on the battles. I'm not gonna talk about like every small battle, but I will try to talk about the main ones. So the first one we're gonna talk about is Team RWBY versus the, I think it's called the Geist or the Gis, I don't know how to pronounce it. It was the big rock grim in the first episode. It was a pretty short fight. Nora beat it. I thought it was a pretty meh fight, honestly. I know what the purpose was. The purpose was to show like, oh yes, John is the strategist. Look, he planned that thing, smash it on the head, I think was it, because of the mask or whatever. I think that was it. But I feel like that was so simple. I feel like you don't even need John for that. But I do understand the purpose is to make you know, John, oh yeah, he's a strategist. So that was the purpose, and I thought it was a pretty meh fight, as I said. If I do rate it, it's probably gonna be like a 5 out of 10. It was pretty meh fight, generic. But let's move on. The next fight I want to talk about is the, I don't know what it's called, but it's like the Sea Dragon Grim versus fighting Blake and Sun. I thought it was a pretty okay fight. Once again, it wasn't like my favorite fight. It was a pretty okay fight. Maybe I'm just biased because I don't really like fights where like the guy is small fighting like a giant or something. That it's not really that entertaining unless they do something interesting. But for me, this fight was also pretty meh. Not really anything much to say about it. It's just showing how Blake and Sun work so well together, and that was pretty much it. The next fight I want to talk about is, oh, I forgot to rate it, didn't I? If I had to rate the Dragon Sea thing fight, it would probably be a 6 out of 10. As I said before, I didn't really find that much enjoyment in it. Okay, the next fight I'm gonna be talking about, oh, now this one I'm actually excited about. It was Team Ranger and Crow versus Tyrion. Now, that is probably my favorite fight in this whole volume. I feel like it's in my top 5 for like the whole series. It was such a great fight. I feel like the reason I actually didn't like the other fights, it was because like it wasn't fast paced. It wasn't like kind of choppy. It was like kind of slow. But like, I really like this fight because I love RWBY fights because they're like so fast paced. Like the slices, the shots, they're like so snappy. They're moving to other places, and this just like has everything. Crow and Tyrion were moving so fast, and it was awesome. Okay, it was probably one of the best fights in RWBY. It was pretty great. We got the music was great. Everything was great about this fight. We get to learn about Tyrion's powers, how he has like the scorpion that actually has poison. We get to see more of Crow's fighting style. It was just so cool. We really get to see how fast the two are. As you know, when RWBY was trying to snipe him, they were so fast you couldn't like even shoot them. Like, it was such a great fight, guys. We get to see like the best of Crow and the best of Tyrion, and we get to know how well they actually fight. It was just like a really cool moment. I would definitely give this fight a 10 out of 10. That's how much I like this fight. Also, how did I forget to mention this? The best moment in the fight was definitely when Crow punched Tyrion in the face and like swag walks through his weapon. It's probably the best punch in this series. Eat your heart out, Yang. So the next fight I want to talk about is actually Team Ranger versus the Nakavi. I don't know if that's how you say the name, but it was a pretty good fight. I feel like the fight was more intended to show the character development of Ren, how he's dealing with the creature that pretty much killed his family. I really like the ending where Ren was slicing all the arms of it, I think, and he was saying, "This is for my dad, this is for me, this is for my mom." I thought that was a really heartfelt moment, but the fight by itself, it was pretty good. It wasn't the best fight in RWBY, of course, because RWBY had a lot of good fights, but I want to give this fight an 8 out of 10 just for the development of Ren, and we get to see John's new weapon, so there's a good fight just because of those things. So yep, now we're gonna be moving on to the animation. So yeah, the animation of Volume 4 was quite different from Volume 3. It's a lot more fluid now, the movements, and the background is, okay, the background is 100% an improvement. It looks great, especially the bed. You guys remember the bed that Crow was sleeping in at the end of RWBY? I mean, at the end of this volume. It looked real, it looked pretty good. And the scene with Oscar, that looked great. The Grimm looks a lot better now. And yeah, overall the animation is pretty good, except for, I would say, the facial. Like, some emoting looks kind of awkward, and if you're wondering who I'm talking about, you can look at the screen. What happened, bruh? But yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not really that much fault with the animation. It was pretty good overall, and I think it is an improvement, like, overall compared to the other volumes. And that concludes my thoughts on RWBY, guys. I thought it was a pretty good volume. Nothing really happened, as I said so before, but it was a build-up volume, so I don't mind that much. The fights were decent for the most part, the best one being Crow versus Tyrion, and the rest being kind of okay, but that fight really brings everything up. And the animation looked really good. So I really like this volume, guys. What do you guys think about it? Tell me in the comments below, and I shall see all of you beautiful people later.